afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Ira Chaudhary sir, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
Fine, thank you, sir. Fine, thank you.
गुप्ता जी कैसे हैं?
बस बढ़िया, आप कैसे हैं?
बस आनंद है। आपको देख लिया तो खुशी खुशी है।
Thank you so much.
अभी सुशील बनर्जी साहब भी ज्वाइन करने वाले हैं और भी लोग हैं, 2-3 लोग। दुबे साहब नमस्कार।
जी नमस्कार अरुण साहब, आपको ज्वाइन करना था आज मीटिंग में 3 बजे। अच्छा, आप अगर मोबाइल से ज्वाइन कर सकते हैं देख लीजिए जस्ट। अच्छा ठीक है।
और
ये सूर्य वाला जो सूर्य
क्या बोल रहे हैं?
फ्लाइट टेकअप कर रहा है। फ्लाइट इनका टेकअप कर रहा है।
उनका क्या वो है, वो हमारे ये साहब जो हैं साहू।
हाँ जी,
हाँ वरुण जी साहब नमस्कार।
आपको मैंने नेट में भेजा, मैं दोबारा भेज देता हूँ आपको। मैंने हाँ जी व्हाट्सएप में भेजा। Awesome.
हाँ बनर्जी साहब नमस्कार।
नमस्कार प्रवीण, नमस्कार.
Namaskar, sir. Namaskar. How are you?
Fine. Actually, today I am at Durgapur.
Oh, skill development, huh?
Huh?
Skill development.
Good afternoon, Saroj ji.
गुड आफ्टरनून कैसे हैं?
बस ठीक है, आप कैसे हैं?
वेरी वेरी हैप्पी टू सी यू टुडे। अच्छा साहब, ऐसा करते हैं कि आई थिंक देयर आर सम लेट कमर्स बट let us
We
basically
can start.
begin.
Yes, yes.
I think we have waited for about 5 minutes और अब इसको शुरू कर देते हैं। तो first of all, let me welcome all of you, and it's very nice that we could assemble all the people at such a short notice. I hope that we are going to be holding series of such discussions, and simultaneously we shall also start working on the agenda that has been sent to you. I am sure every one of us, we have received the agenda, and if there are any comments on that, then I will be more than happy to listen to all the members here. And one request that I have to make is that because of some flight arrangements and other things, at least 3 or 4 of our invitees, they have not been able to join. So we will try to fix up soon a meeting, and a minutes of meeting will be sent by Mr. Majumdar to all of us so that we can have a look at it and then we can take it further. With that, I will now request all of you, starting with our Gupta ji from Steel Authority of India, to basically comment on the issues for deliberation. In case there are certain things which need modification or clarification, I'll be more than happy to basically explain those things. So Gupta ji, can I invite you to come and give your comment, followed by
very good afternoon to everyone. As regards to the agenda points, what you have mentioned, like this is a very tough topic as regards to how to improve the construction of steel structures. And with my experience in Steel Authority, let me tell you that the requirements of steel structures is gradually improving, but we are seeing more improvements in south and eastern part of the country. Especially in south, there are a lot of requirements. A lot of fabricators and designers have come up who are designing these structures. And I'll give you an example that there was a Chennai-based designer and architect who had got the order for construction of our Rourkela steel plant, specialty hospital at Rourkela steel plant. There we requested them to put up a designing of the hospital by using plates and structurals, and they agreed for that, and they changed the design from concrete to totally steel structure. And as a result, they agreed and they changed the designs, and everything was designed based on steel structures. And in fact, the erection of the hospital became so fast that within 1.5 years' time, the entire structure and hospital was ready, and it was inaugurated also. So that sort of initiative has to be taken at all levels. Like basically what I feel is that we need to concentrate on all these designers. That is one part. But when you discuss with the designers, they say that many of the ultimate customers, they don't ask for steel structures. So that's a catch-22 situation. Like you have to get hold of these designers, because if you ask us the list of all these designers, everyone can give you a list of designers who can do designing, but then you have to give them a focus that they have to do steel structure designing. But at the same time, you need customers also requesting for steel structures, steel designings, and the benefits, what they can reap from that. That is all as of now. I would like to hear from other people also about the other topics. But this is the one point I would like to make that is quite important according to me. Thank you.
Thank you, Gupta ji. Actually, I just wanted to give a small footnote to everyone. And it is not that we are only working with the steel sector. We are also, we have mobilized Niti Aayog now. Yesterday, I had a meeting with the member Niti Aayog, and he has very kindly consented to set up a working group, high-powered working group, where we shall be discussing these particular issues. Now, in brief, let me tell you something which I had explained to him. And being a very eminent engineer himself, I am referring Dr. V.K. Saraswat, who had been the Director General of DRDO himself and a very decorated officer actually. So I told him a couple of things. First, I spoke about the carbon footprints and how exactly the steel is going to be a better material. And the second point, which was very, very important, which he also appreciated, that is that even in the urban settings, the housing that is happening now, it needs a bit of a shift because of the incidences of earthquake and the vulnerability that we have there, and need of a ductile material. Of course, the reduction of carbon footprint and when you talk about the life cycle embodied energy calculations, steel seems to be the only answer that we have. So very soon we will be setting up this particular high-powered working group, and where I would definitely request our friends to come in there. And this is a footnote that I wanted to give. The second point that I have to tell Mr. Gupta, especially in Steel Authority of India, that the example that you have just now cited about the hospital that has been constructed in a record short time, which is again a great benefit to construction industry, this particular case study needs to be highlighted. And the second thing that we had accepted and agreed with the Niti Aayog, that they also want to really push up this particular agenda very, very clearly. And as a result, there are 4 regional conferences and brand connects, as we call them. That is what we have agreed to organize now. And of course, one international conference in December. That is where all these issues are going to be taken up once again under the auspices of Niti Aayog. We are just likely to receive their consent to support this whole thing, and then we are going out. So my request to Mr. Gupta will be that this particular example can be cited during these meetings, which is going to be attended primarily by many of the housing construction companies and the construction companies per se. Even the consultants are being requested to join, because even they have to be mobilized to this particular stream. So this is something which I thought I'll just bring to your attention. Now, can we basically listen to Sushim Babu? Sushim Babu? Mr. Banerjee, are you able to hear me? Banerjee sahab, you have to unmute yourself. Banerjee sahab, you have to unmute yourself.
Am I audible now?
Yes, now you are audible, and yeah,
Okay.
you have to also switch on your video. And after this, I would request Mr. Mohit Kapoor, who has already raised a hand, and Mr. Kapoor will be giving his view. Please go on. Please go on, Mr. Banerjee.
Okay, there are 2 points to what Binod says, that it is a good news that in Rourkela the hospital has been made in record time because it is a steel structured design. Now there are 2 points I want to mention. Because of the paucity of space, a lot of buildings now that are coming up in the real estate area are tall buildings. That means 15 floors and above, 15 and 20 floors and above. And there in the tall buildings, the world over, it is now the steel concrete technology, composite technology that has been very much in use. And in 2000 beginning, all tall buildings, about 23% share was by the steel concrete, and today it is more than 65%. So that means the world over, people are using steel concrete technology for the tall buildings. Very unfortunately, in our country, there is a code, BIS code of 16700, and this code is entirely for the RCC structure. Now, this code has to be changed in order to incorporate the steel design. And if it happens, I think BIS has already been advised, and the earlier they do it, there are a lot of construction agencies, then they can adopt, particularly in government sector also. A lot of buildings are coming up, particularly in Delhi, in suburban, in Tier 2 areas, Sonipat, Panipat, all are tall buildings. And Bombay is an exception. In Calcutta also, I find a lot of tall buildings are coming. So once this code is formulated, that will very much facilitate the use of steel concrete technology for the real estate areas for 15 floors and above. The second one is that I had earlier mentioned in our meeting and even CIDC that steel concrete composite design for road over bridges. It is an area where huge potential market is there, and INSDAC has already taken the lead, but I think it has to be further speeded up. SAIL is also a member in that committee, SAIL set, and Mecon is also there, and all the steel producers are members. But the earlier it happens for 30 meter span, 35-meter span, 40-meter span, then this steel concrete composite technology for road over bridges, it will open up huge potential for steel structural designs. So these two I wanted to put it up to this committee so that further action can be speeded up. Thank you.
Thank you, Sushim Babu. And I think you are referring to the, the issue number 1, and which is actually listed out in the agenda today. And this is the need of upgradation of codes and practices. That is what you are referring to, which is a very, very correctly observed observation. And the only thing that I have to tell you is that as much as we know about functioning of BIS, and since I happen to be working on many of their CD groups for that matter, I can tell you for sure that there are 2 modes in which we can basically solve this problem. One is, of course, the usual conventional mode, going to BIS, urging upon them to have some kind of a committee or group created who can start deliberating on refurbishing the codes or modernizing the codes. Incidentally, the ironical situation is that the last time the codes were revised, I am told that this was in the year 1975. It is as big a vintage as as my whole work experience span is concerned. So, I mean, this is not a matter to be taken very lightly. I hope that BIS should have been far more active. As a matter of fact, our steel sector itself should have been far more active to make sure that there are many more revisions come. But there are examples which I can just cite here, and that is going to set up some new methodology of working. There are 2 areas.
Another one small point that just missed I can just add it. There is another instance where, the steel frame structure, like cold form structural, it is very much in use in all other countries. In our country, the code IS 801, for the last 6 years, it is lying with BIS. It has not yet been, developed, or it not yet been published. So there are a lot of work is going on, but somehow or other, I find that issue is not settled. And once the code is not there, nobody, no designer, no contractor will take up the design because there is no code. And so this code, issuance of the appropriate code is very much needed in order to enhance the steel consumption.
Yes. So in that context only, Sushim Babu and our other friends also, I have to tell that there are 2 very interesting examples that I can cite. And as you know, many of the regulatory systems, they work because of the logic and precedence also. The precedence is that for the road construction, it was originally BIS who were laying down the norms and specifications. But then the pace of construction of roads and bridges became so furious that ultimately it was Indian Road Congress who started making the code of practice themselves. And the idea basically was that this will gain the acceptability everywhere. And the fact of the matter is that this is an acceptable form of code. In any case, we know that BIS codes are only recommendatory in nature. So I propose something which may sound a bit revolutionary, but the fact of the matter is that we are all the people who know what is required to be done, how exactly the codes have to be formed, and there is no reason I see that starting from this committee, which is only a microcosm, we can take it further and we can create the codes of practice. The
Sure, sure.
second example that I gave was the second example is coming from the subsurface infrastructure sector. And here we are talking about a technology which is rather recent in India, about 25 years old, which is called trenchless technology. There are no codes available for trenchless technology. Similarly, there are no codes available for construction chemicals that you have there. So
Yeah.
what we have decided is that we will lay down the codes of practice for trenchless technology and even the construction materials, and let these codes be basically generic in nature. Let they be impartial. They will not be basically talking about that. And in every committee and group, we ensure that participation of Bureau of Indian Standard is always there, so
Okay.
that they are able to see the
That's a good suggestion.
transparency.
Yes.
So my recommendation here is, which I am sure all of you will approve, that we can form a group on formation of the codes for that matter. Let us make the codes. Let us formally release all these things, and let us publicize and talk about the applications. And I am absolutely certain that we have five or six steel majors, the primary steel manufacturers. If among themselves, if they decide tomorrow that yes, this is going to be our code of practice, there is absolutely no reason. CIDC definitely will spearhead this. We will try to get the clout of Niti Aayog also into it, as I have told you already. And INSDAG is going to be working together with us for that matter,
Sure.
very, very actively, like it has been doing in past for that matter. So that is the solution that I can give. In case you all think that this is workable, and I see no reason why it is not workable, we should be in a position to come out with the codes much, much faster as compared to what we have been talking about. As a matter of
Okay.
fact, yesterday when I was talking to the member Niti Aayog, something which he was literally lamenting, and he said that it is so many technologies that are now being imported from abroad, and we are very, very conveniently following those technologies. None of the statutes and technologies are actually being developed in India, in spite of the fact that we have today almost 38 IITs, so many NITs, so many engineering colleges,
Very
CSIR, and
unfortunate.
many other. It's a very unfortunate situation. So
Very
rather
unfortunate.
than rather than lamenting about it, I will say that let us push on with it. Let us create the codes of practice ourselves, and revisions can always take place. Every year you can
Sure.
have it revised. And if there are new developments that are coming in, they can always be created as an addendum to the main code for that matter. So that is what
Sure.
my solution is. I hope all of you
Sure.
will agree, right? So
Yes. Yes.
now I will go to Mr. Mohit Kapoor, who was raising his hand. Mr. Kapoor, please come in.
Sure.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, Saluda, thanks a lot for inviting me and giving me a chance in this high power committee with such experienced people. I'll definitely endorse all the points my fellow speaker have said. And yes, we also have felt that steel construction as well as far as, sir, am I audible? I believe.
You are audible. You please go on.
I definitely endorse what all points all the your respectable people have said. In fact, we have delivered 6 major full-scale hospitals in Delhi, around 22 lakh square feet area, 18,000 tons. In flat 90 days, our supplies made sure that contractors were able to create the frames, skeleton of our 7 major hospitals in Delhi. Just because we provided them that we had gone a notch above what Sir has told about Raurkela project, where the plates were used, HI beams were used. We had supplied them cut to length size of steel tubes, 5 to 12 meters size, which were just assembled at the site. Our motto was fabricated and welded at site, fabricated and welded at factory, bolted at site. So yes, we can do this much more, but the only apathy is that such technologies or such solutions are only invited when there are problems of very short time. Or you say the case of New Delhi railway station where they cannot use an RCC structure. So the adaptability of steel structure has to be taken care of. And then again, that point comes that all the codes are so old. In fact, the code that I was telling, which was made in 1975, it was made 2 years before I was born. I am a 77 born person. We need to do changes. And another example I can give, I happen to be a founder member and chairman of the events committee in Warehousing Association of India. What we have done is last year we got approval from the Ministry of Commerce and Industry and Mr. Piyush Goyal personally. For last 2 years, our association has been drafting, editing, publishing, and circulating the standard guidelines on warehousing techniques or warehousing standards and warehousing codes. Definitely, the government of India takes the draft from us, checks it, gives their revision. But what's happening for last 1.5 years is this will be the second year that our version will be, our new book will be launched. That we have been able to add certain revolutionary things like machine learning, AI, or now for this year we'll be adding drone technology to check warehouse stocks from inside. So what we are bringing up in then, another major thing that we brought last year was how to grade warehouses so that the Indian and international clients must know what are the basis of selecting a warehouse and selecting the rents. And government's task was just cut to have an executive role of just checking what we have written, vetting it, and it was all published. So the idea of that Sarup sir is giving that this committee or certain committees like this comprising of the stakeholders and industry people, they should take this responsibility of writing the codes, suggesting it to government and let government just vet it. We should not wait for them to go for years and years just to deliberating. And the last point that I would like to say is it's really unfortunate that when we are faced with no other option, then we just go and cut, copy, paste and use the technologies or codes written in international markets. Reason being, nobody in India, any vetting officer or any person who is approving the projects, they are not having any confidence in any made in India technology or proposed by Indian consultant technology. So what they select is a very safer route of approving any technology which has been used abroad, considering it is very good. It may be very good, it is no doubt very good, but we have to see what are the adjustments and minor alterations that we have to do according to our situations. So I definitely endorse and congratulate sir for, welcome sir for this initiative of creating a group which should assist government, propose to them, do the task that the government officers were actually meant to do, but due to certain reasons they're not been able to do it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mohit. It was lovely, and all I can say that you have been talking about a very, very wide spectrum of things. At this particular point in time, let us basically start moving with the immediate requirements that we have there. And once we start moving and gather the pace, after that, there is absolutely no reason why we cannot basically do the wonderful things like grading and whatever you have spoken about. But something which is very, very important is that we have to keep on citing the case studies. If we do not cite the case studies, the average consumers are also not going to get enlightened. So we have to speak about it. And this is where my request to all of us here is that we should basically try to make sure that whenever we have a gathering of the engineers, and I just now told that there are 4 or 5 events that are in the offing, I would like everyone to participate in there cite the kind of examples that you have. Yes, Mohit, you wanted to say something more?
So just you reminded, guided us to be more outward in giving case studies. I can share with you certain more case studies that in last 1.5 years, my company has been able to achieve in real projects. Like for example, UP government had given orders of 60,000 water tanks spread over every village and talukas in UP.
Yeah.
And top-notch contractors like L&T, NCC, and Welspun, they have not been able to construct them on time, citing the difficulties and irregularities in sending 40-50 labor per tank to remote villages. Average time taken by these big companies was 2.5 to 3 months for construction of a 20 feet or 16-meter high water tank. What we did is we did a prototype in Adoi, and we were able to take the structure of a water tank of 16-meter height, having the capacity of bearing the load of a 2 lakh liter water tank above. We managed to finish it after the foundation work was done in flat 8 to 10 days. And the result is
Well,
around
Mohit,
5 days.
well, Mohit, I have to stop you in the tracks here, because the lesson that we want to take from this is that what you are speaking about, like, what Mr. Gupta spoke about, the hospital that was constructed in little time.
Getting better ideas from guys.
These are the kind of examples that we have to cite. And we also have to start engaging with the people who are the beneficiaries of this. Take for an example, if Larsen and Toubro is the one who had constructed the hospital there in the sale complex, or if there are agencies who have been basically seeking your help to immediately finish the project, quickly finish the project, please bring them on board. We would like basically them to keep on citing about the kind of wonderful things that you have done. After all, you have to understand that this is the time where we have to have a four-pronged strategy. The first prong is actually we should have the codes of practice with us. We should have plenty of guidebooks and guidelines so that the things can be popularized. We need to have a very concerted effort on human resource development. And the last one that we have is that we have to keep on citing about the kind of benefits and advantages if we make a shift to the steel products for that matter. And that is what is going to bring the kind of changes that we are really looking for. Rest is all sequel. Once everything is kind of in position, then rest is basically an expansion of the things, and there are plenty of people who can do that. But it is always very difficult, as you know. When you are constructing the building, the most difficult task is actually to lay the first brick for your foundation. So the first brick for the foundation has to be laid up, and after that you can build all the walls and terraces and roofs and everything that you have there. Whether you construct them in steel or you construct them in concrete, it doesn't matter. As a civil engineer, I can tell you that is the toughest part of it. So Mohit,
Sir, on a lighter note, I would.
Mohit, I think I'm sorry. I'm asking you to kind of leave it here, and then after that let us listen to others also. All right. So can I now request our Mr. Gauri Shankar Dubeji to speak about it, and followed by that by Mr. Tushar Sahu. And Mr. Tushar Sahu has joined us from Europe. Welcome, Mr. Sahu, for coming in here. So can we listen to Mr. Gauri Shankar Dubey, and after that I'll go to Mr.
Thank
Tushar
you, sir.
Sahu.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I
No problem.
got delayed.
No problem. No problem. I know you are in a different time zone altogether. Okay. So Dubey sahab. दुबे साहब अनम्यूट करिएगा दुबे साहब अनम्यूट करिए
Yes, sir. Now I am audible.
हाँ, now you are very much audible.
Pranam to everybody. And I beg apology for my absence during the mid of April of CIDC. Today I am very happy to see the galaxy of 10. Earlier it was 9, now it is 10 because Tushar, I had to knock his door to be present here.
Yes, yes, you really knocked me out.
So on 28th April, we have got the agenda for discussion today. And mission is about increasing the steel consumption in India, which is the second largest steel producing country in the world. So I think if Sushim Dada and Binod ji and Prabir Rai Chaudhary and Tushar Sahu and others permit me to go point-wise discussion. First deliberation issue is need for upgrading the codes and practice. So I had gone through the different modal provision of steel structures of Europe, America, and India. At the moment, in India, there are around 60 codes for steel. And these codes are right from 1962 to 2008 or 2007. So these codes need upgradation. And so that the people are also aware of the latest updated codes. As I have heard from Sushim Banerjee and Mohit Kapoor, that he is the head of PVCL. So that is a matter of concern. And American civil engineers, they have already upgraded all the codes ANSI and AISC 303 in May 2022. So we are in May 2023. It is almost 1 year. So we shall have to upgrade all the codes of steel related code of Bureau of Indian Standard. And mainly for building, I have gone through IS 800 2007, IS 801 1975, and any other codes for electrodes and other things. For that, I would humbly submit before Dr. Swaroop that the codal upgradation committee should be taken up with the Bureau of Indian Standard, and we shall also include structural engineers, architects, code official, general contractors, fabricators, steel detailer, erectors, and inspectors. Then we have to have this 4 regional meetings. So we have to motivate the stakeholders. The steel building is definitely give some advantage of the carbon footprint also, because pollution will be less because the steel is manufactured in the steel plant and they are only brought to site and it is only erected, fabricated, and steel construction is also speedier, and life cycle cost of steel building is also far, far better than that of concrete structures. If time permits, I will bring to the notice of the August gathering of 10 people. Throughout the history of the built environment, these skyscrapers have been developed as prestigious, demonstrating the power and wealth of a city or a nation. We are in Amrit Mahotsav and we will be reaching 100 years very soon of independence. So producing a sense of wonder. Today, skyscraper construction is still largely dictated by economics with the price and availability of urban center, land justifying building upward. Land is becoming costlier and costlier. And by 2030, around 70% population of India, who has become going to be number one in population in India, in the world, very soon from 1st May or 1st July. So urban land is very scarce. So the tube is the name given to the system where, in order to resist lateral loads, wind load, seismic load, earthquake load, a building is designed to act like a three-dimensional hollow tube, cantilevered perpendicular to the ground. The system was introduced none other than Fazlur Rahman Khan, a vibrant young engineer from undivided British India of Bengali descent, Shivpur Engineering College. Now it is a university and it is at par with IITs. So tube frame construction was first used by DeWitt Chestnut in 1963 in Canada, and Burj Khalifa is also there recommendation. But after going through the total code of around 60, Bureau of Indian Standard for Steel Code, and for that 26 are of buildings or for buildings. So these code need revision, and manufacturer of steel will have to be also impressed upon for manufacturing or develop secondary producers for tube manufacturing. And these tubes will not only be circular, it should be anything. It should be either square or rectangular or circular or free form shapes, tube, under tube, tube, joint tube, bundle tube, truss tube, frame tube, and tube in tube. And that will have skyscraper like Burj Khalifa or Petronet Towers. And Mohit Kapoor was telling only in the hospital, why not all buildings of different real estate agencies steel, because it will be less polluting and faster construction, robust construction. So I have touched upon only issue number one, that is need for upgrading the codes and practice. If permitted, I will also discuss about the second point. Second point is development of guidebooks, ready reckoner to popularize practices and steel in construction. For that, we shall have to take up the matter with the National Highway Authority of India Limited, Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. And it is very happy to note that the Steel Ministry through the Railway Board have published one book of construction of different railways authority in consultation with RDSO. And it was inaugurated on April 20 by Piyush Goyal, the then railway minister. And they have been impressing upon use of steel bridge. Steel bridge must be constructed for road and road over bridge and every level crossing. Because as per the decision of the Government of India and Railway Ministry, there will be no level crossing. It will be either road over bridge or road under bridge. And that should be constructed definitely of steel, so that consumption of steel is increased. But manufacturers should be able to provide the steel just in time. Because now SAIL is there, RINL is there, JSPL is there, and NDMC has also developed one steel plant. Then ArcelorMittal, Nippon Dendo, all are available. So that is the ready Nicoran is also required to be provided. And in absence of the IS code, Railway in consultation with RDSO has developed different standards for use of steel in steel bridges. So that help also we can take. And Indian Road Congress also is required to be taken up so that they also take the lead in designing and providing a steel road bridge for all types of roads, either this major district road, national highways, or other things. So third point is about the reaction of pool of designers, consultants proficient in steel-based designs. During my career, when we studied, there were stalwarts in steel design, and in curriculum also there is emphasis is given for steel design. But nowadays we find it is only concrete, concrete, and concrete. So architect and primary structure is fundamental concept design, building and building regulations. So for that also is required. And fourth point is inclusion of steel-based design in curriculum of relevant subject of engineering institutes. We should have to take up with the AICT so that they take up the matter with all the engineering institute, including IITs and NITs. Fifth is the creation of cadre properly trained and skill-tested workforce for the national and international need. Because we hardly find any good welder, good fitter, good erector. Even the nut and bolt sizes and the holes making in fabrication of the fabricated structure is also missing. So I have tried to cover, and creation of resource center is also required. These are the 6 points which have been given to me for deliberations. I think I have tried my level best to come up to all the, now it is 9 members. So 9 Ratnas are still there. Sir, I have tried to cover almost all the points which I have been given on 28th April 2000.
Thank you, sir. And can we hear Mr. Tushar Sahu now? Mr. Sahu, please. Mr.
Yeah.
Sahu.
Dr. Sarup, good afternoon. Actually, I must admit that since I've been traveling, I'm little not very prepared to speak this thing. But yes, what everybody has said and what you spoke to me earlier, that should be the direction of our action plan. And there are gaps, as now we know where are the gaps existing, why this steel-based construction is not taking up because of gaps in the value chain. And so I think we need to create those fill in those gaps, and like sir, BIS, the code book as well as the handbook, both are required. Similarly, earlier there was not enough quality, size, and quantity steel produced in the country. Now, I think that has been largely breached, even though the requirement of higher quality steel and lighter steel is still going up because of through research. But I think Indian steel industry is now matured enough to provide those items. But what is missing is the link between the user and the producer. Now we require a platform which will facilitate that. I would rather being a person from the steel producing fraternity, I would also look at a kind of a platform which will facilitate research development to fill the gap, to bridge the gap between the user and the producer of steel. So that is also another important aspect which is required to be undertaken to increase steel consumption. Now, because India is becoming a production hub for not only for automobile, because as we know, India is a producer of largest producer of small car in the world. But there is a big emphasis on producing defense equipment in India. As we know, the government of India is giving a lot of emphasis for defense production in the private sector, apart from public sector. So there will be a lot of requirement for steel, specialized steel in construction and consumption of and production of defense equipment. So there is a need for understanding the requirement in advance by the producers and then developing those grades. Like SAIL has developed steel grades for production of ships. That is this aircraft carrier. Similarly, all producers also come forward, and because there are many types of steel requirement now for tanks or for aircrafts, for guns. So who is coordinating the, how the producers are coordinating? Because SAIL being a public sector unit, of course, the Ministry of Defense and Ministry of Steel coordinated. But what about other producers? How are they coordinating to generate, develop those kind of steel? So there needs to be a specialized or identified platform for that. So I would suggest that we also take this point into account while developing our action plan. Similarly, as Mr. Gaurisankar Dubey said, skilled workers, where CIDC's direct role would be very important because they have a network of training schools, training centers. So specifically in consultation with the construction industry, what are those type of skills? What level of skill that is to be identified, and a training course to be designed and certification to be given so that there are enough skilled workers available. So that their CIDC's role will be very, very crucial. So these are the points, sir. As we go along, we'll do this, and any help, any year, we need to bring in those people who can help us in this action plan. That's what I will say at this point of time.
Thank you, Sahu Sahab. I think that was basically very correct, and I think this has now set the agenda for action. I think the way forward is now very clear, and that is that we should start identifying. We have already identified the areas. We should start setting up the group of people who can start working at it. That is something that we have to basically make sure. And secondly, like I told in the beginning, I think Mr. Sahu was not there at that time, so I'm repeating it for you, that yesterday we have had a meeting with our member Niti Ayog, and That is where basically it has been decided that we are going to be setting up a high-powered working group under the auspices of Niti Aayog, and where many of these issues also will be taken up, so that the message directly goes from Niti Aayog, which is where we have to have the state intervention also. So I'll come back to all of you, and we will make sure that the from the steel sector we have a robust presence there, so that we can also discuss all these issues at the national level with the government itself. So that is another thing that I intend doing. Now, there's only one person who is now left, Mr. E. Suresh from Tata Blue Scope, and I would request Mr. Suresh to speak out and give his comments and viewpoints. Mr. Suresh, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening, all of you. Thank you, Dr. Swarup, sir. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Actually, you have very clearly pointed out all the issues which are the need of the hour today for the steel building construction. And out of those things, for the point number 5, which is the creation of skilled and talented workforce, I think our Tata BlueScope Steel have initiated some part along with CIDC into that actually. And we believe that we have to further improvise on those training part, because now we are limited to the pre-engineered building, which is very popular in India now. So it is the basic training. We may go for further enhanced training to the more people in all the levels, like the supervision, construction engineers, and the workers level. And our Gauri Shankar sir pointed out that proper welder, fitters are also the problems. So we may need to take, we may need to take those points as well in these kind of trainings. That is what I feel. So at present, Tata BlueScope Steel is able to provide this kind of support in these things. That is first point. And as I told, actually, we will further improvise on that. And second thing, I had a chance to meet and discuss with Mr. Abhishek Paul, the director who came to our CIDC meet in the month of April from Bureau of Indian Standard. So I had a discussion with him, and he pointed out that many standards are coming up related to steel design and construction. And one of the code also he mentioned about the manufacturing and the construction tolerances. Specifically, one separate guideline or a code they are working on that actually. In fact, I told I can also help on that, whatever the best we can be a part of that. And Mr. Abhishek, I came to understand from Abhishek Paul that he is having several structural designers and the consultants in his list, and many people are already part of the Indian standard revisions. So I think we need to bring Mr. Abhishek Paul into our maybe in the membership, so that he may be able to solve the first 1, 2, 3 points. That is the codes, guidelines, as well as the bringing of the consultants and structural designers being a part of this particular committee. So that will, I think this is my suggestion. I came to understand from him. And I can talk to him because I have a good contact with him. And one more point I would like to tell also, this IS 801 related to the coal form design is under revision actually. I am also a part of subcommittee member actually. I am also one of the subcommittee member of that. And the code revision and the draft is completed, and it has been submitted also to the main committee. No, actually the first draft is ready, and it is going to be submitted to the main committee in the couple of months. And hopefully in this year we may expect that code. That is what the chairperson was Dr. Kalyana Raman from IIT, ex-IIT Chennai. So that is the update I can give for the coal form design. And PMTPC, that is the Building Materials and Technology Promotion Council, also pushing a lot of coal form steel into the market. And it is the central government body which is actually recommending the coal form steel in the use of building construction with the help of American codes and Australian codes right now. So they are approving those designs as well right now. That is for the information I am saying. Until the IS 801 is coming, so we can still proceed the light gauge steel building designs based on the international codes also. That's all from our side, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Suresh. You see, there are two issues here. One is basically that we keep continuing our efforts with the Bureau of Indian Standard. That is one part of it, which we all know that because of the kind of procedures that have been laid down in BIS, it takes inordinately long time. And we also have to understand the limitation of BIS because many of the committee members are there for the namesake. I'm talking something harsh. And here is a situation where we are needing the food immediately. That is the point. In case we have to push it up and in case we have to take it further, then in that case we need the food immediately. It is almost like this that we can prepare 20 dishes at our home to feed our guests. But then suppose if these guests they arrive there with a short notice of half an hour, then in that case you have no choice but to immediately go for some of the ready cooked food
Yes.
delivery system, right?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And let us now. I just wanted to share with all of you so that there are certain misnomers that have to be removed. You have to understand this that none of the code formation bodies all over the world, whether it is American Society of Civil Engineers or it is the Dine Code or it is the Euro Code or it is British Code or it is Indian Code or whatever it is, none of they are basically supposed to be ruling the rules like you have to follow this, otherwise everything is wrong. Probably in socialist countries they do it, but then not, of course, in any of the so-called civilized countries for that matter. The code formation organizations are basically the ones who only give the recommendation. Choice is yours, and choice is that of the user. It basically gives a lot of strength to whatever you are doing when it is endorsed by a code formation organization. Now, here I just want to share a story with you, which many of you might have heard. I might have spoken about this very interesting story. You know how exactly the British Standard Institution came about. This is a very interesting story, and all of you must know about it. What happened was that, of course, India was at the bottom of it in any case. What happened was that Indian government, which basically used to be acting very autonomous, although they were under the British crown, but they were very, very autonomous for that matter and very, very jealous about their own rights for that matter. Never wanted any encroachment from anybody, may that be the British crown or British Parliament. So they were basically going ahead with the setting up of the railway network in the country. And I'm talking about a story which is about 150 or 160 years old or 170 years old. That's about it. Now, what happened was, it was very interesting that there were global tenders that were put in there for providing the rail network and railroads for that matter. And it was free for anyone to come and basically supply the steel product in India. May they be Czechoslovakians, may they be Germans, may they be whoever, French or whatever. Now, the British manufacturers, and this is where I basically urge upon the primary steel manufacturer to join hands. You are like Hanumanji, you have to know your strength. These people, they joined hand together and they said that we are going to be creating a code of practice. And in order to create the code of practice, they said we are creating a body called British Standard Institution. And that is how BSI was formed. They all went to the crown, they got the charter of the crown. BSI became a kind of society that was basically governed and run by the manufacturers. What was the end of it? The end of it was that the codes were prepared, the specifications were prepared. The British took it upon themselves to standardize all the product, and then they came to India House, and then they spoke to the Viceroy and the Privy Council and everybody, and they said, look here, if you are going to be using British steel, not because you are basically you are a British dominion and we are British, but if you use the British steel, you will get the benefit of very, very standardized products. So that tomorrow, if there are any changes to be made, you know exactly where the rails have to be taken out and where they have to be reinstalled for that matter. It has many other advantages also. So if you buy it from us, they will be with British Standard Institution mark, and They will be basically of the same kind of sizes, and that is the origin of the steel tables also. You know, the sectional tables that are there, which are appendix to the IS 800 for that matter. You know, so that is how the whole thing was created. The institution was created, the codes were created, and that was basically the first foray. I see no reason why, with the primary manufacturers all with us, and especially, you know, the Tata Steel, and with the Steel Authority of India Limited backing us up for that matter, we see no reason why we can't create the codes of practice. Like I gave you two examples. I told about the Road Congress, and I also spoke about the trenchless technology. These are the two recent examples. That is where, you know, BIS was basically involved to make sure that this is done transparently. It is generic in nature, but fact of the matter is, and now there are this third set of uh, code of practices that have been released by Cement and Chemical Manufacturers Association in association with CIDC. So I would suggest and request that while we are working with BIS, no doubt about it, the fact of the matter is that there is plenty of work that we can do that can be supplemented and that can be provided to BIS as a help. And we can say that, look here, this is what the manufacturers have agreed. After all, we are talking about the latest material which is coming out of many of the researchers that are happening throughout the global front for that matter. And what we used to use, the chemical composition, the way of manufacturing, everything is undergoing a change. I was listening to this news where to reduce the carbon footprints, and especially for the steel product, I think someone from you are from Tata Blue Scope, and you can endorse that. That in Jamshedpur steel plant, now they have started using the hydrogen as the kind of fuel rather than using the fossil fuel for that matter, you know. And there are experiments that are going on, and very soon, that is the claim that comes from Tata's, and I have no reason to disbelieve that. That if hydrogen is replaced, that is going to be a revolutionary change for that matter, and further bring down the carbon footprints. So, you see, the technology is changing at such a fast pace, that we have to basically keep pace with it. And here we are talking about months and years and things like that. Who has the patience really? The second important point that we have is that we have to have whatever previous work that has been done. And that is where I request Mr. Banerjee also, Mr. Sushim Banerjee, and all of you, especially from Mr. Gupta, you know, from SAIL, to speak to INSDAG and let them basically come very, very actively in these deliberations. ISDAG has done plenty of work, I am absolutely certain, and I know about much of the work that has been done by none other than Sushim Babu himself while he was running the show there. I think this is the time that they should be working as partners in progress, and that is where I would request your good officers to be talking to them and bringing them on the board. They had been on board; they are also part of the committee, but for some reason they have not been able to participate today. We hope that they are going to be there. So let us collect all the work that has been done, put that into a basket, and say that, okay, we have traveled so many miles, so many more miles have to be traveled. And that is precisely where we would like all of us to sit down, uh, scratch our heads, and see how exactly can we do that. Next thing that I have to request all of you, and that is again a very earnest request, that we have to basically make sure that the ambit is larger. On my own, our own volition, while we were discussing that in ICM, that April event that we have taken that as a sequel. You would recall that it was basically supported by the Planning Commission, by the Niti Aayog, and that is the reason why, encouraged with the response, we had gone to them and we have said that, sir, we are going to be setting up this high-powered group so that even the government ministries also come and they also start talking about the kind of changes that are imminent and required. And the last thing that I spoke about was that whatever benefits that we accrue because of the speedy construction, because of the better quality, because of reduction of the pollution, and of course, the kind of combating the natural calamities like earthquake and all, which necessitate the use of steel for that matter, let us basically cite these examples. This is very, very important. And that is where basically, all these shows are being organized, and we can call the wider cross section of, the engineering fraternity who should come and understand that there is a lot of merit in it, and they should actually get in there. These are the kind of steps that we have to take. Enhancing the group is something which is a very welcome step. Please request Mr. Pal to get in touch with us. We will be more than happy to have him on board for that matter. Matter of fact, that has given me another idea, and that is that Association of Consulting Civil Engineers, they have a membership base of more than 7,500 consultants, and they are working throughout the country. Every nook and corner of the country, they are working, their members, especially in southern part of country, they have a huge presence in every state that you go there. We know that there is a lot of work that is happening in the southern part of the country, and there is no reason for us to basically make sure that these consultants, they start creating a cadre of people who can provide the kind of technical services, the support, and start appreciating the usage and application of steel. So these are the kind of things that is actually the kind of the agenda for further action. And with that, I think I will once again request anyone else to come back and add to whatever I have spoken.
Dr. Swarup, I would like to add a couple of things.
जी,
Dr. Swarup, can I intervene? Yeah.
जी,
A
बोलिए.
couple of things I would like to add.
जी.
Recently, from 18th to 20th, there was a meeting conducted by FICCI and Ministry of Steel at
Sure.
Bombay, where there were a lot of deliberations on various topics. And
Sure.
one of the meetings were to improve consumption of steel in the construction industry. INSDAG, Mr. P.K. Mishra, INSDAG was also there. And he gave a speech for almost 15-20 minutes there. And that was it was an eye-opener, and that a lot of things are being done by them. And they are also doing a lot of things to improve steel consumption. And the steel ministry really appreciated that, and all the industry people were also there. They appreciated that. Now, coming to point number 2 is, since I'm in the industry, I know that, for example, all these airports and railway stations, a lot of steel is being used in the structural designing part also. And a lot of pipe manufacturers are there who are supplying pipes in various for construction purpose, like hexagonal, octagonal, and all those structural designing purpose. These pipes are being consumed in massive quantities now, and that is a well accepted norm throughout the country. And all the airports are being constructed using these pipes. And there are more than 100 tube and pipe manufacturers in the country today. And there are at least 50 of them out of those who are making these structural pipes, which is being used in construction. That's a well accepted norm as far as the airports are concerned. Now, coming to the railways bridges. Railways have got their own designers, and they're using a lot of steel plates and structurals where they are making the steel railway bridges made from steel. So that is also not an issue. Thirdly, I have worked in Southern region. I was the regional manager from SAIL and Southern region at Chennai for 4 years. And there I can say that a lot of activities are taking in steel structures, steel buildings also. In fact, near Trichy, there's a massive bridge which has come up, totally made of steel. And that has been very well appreciated, erected in a very fast pace, at a very fast pace. And there are lots of consultants, designers in Southern region, as you mentioned rightly. And my view and suggestion is that you should call for a program where all these consultant designers, if you ask us, we can provide you a list of 25, 30 of such consultants who are already designing these airports, stations, building railway stations everywhere in Southern region and south of India. These people can be called here, and because the only worrying factor is that steel structures are not coming up in housing sector, the buildings, multi-storied buildings. There the consumption really needs to improve, because other areas it is growing. So we need to focus on those areas where the building structures can really come up using steel structures. So there, I think if you call a seminar or meeting where only these designers and with steel suppliers and some consumers can come up in North India, where you can have deliberations and you can ask them to make presentations, and they'll be very happy because they're already into the business and they're supplying. They've got the manpower, they've got skilled labor. everything they have got. So those people will be happy to expand their business elsewhere. So if you call a meeting in North India or East India, these people will come up and they can make presentations how to improve the steel structure, because they're already designing various things. So they can be of real help. And
Excellent ideas. And we are certainly going to be making use of it, Gupta sir. We are certainly going to be making use. You see, sorry, you have to continue.
no,
You can.
That's all. You can continue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, my limited point is like this. My limited point is like this, that you see, going back to the kind of fundamental agenda which has actually prompted us to sit down together and talk about it, is that we have to basically make sure that there is enhancement in the consumption pattern of the steel, and of course that can be done in more than one ways. One is, of course, the sectors where we are already very much ingressed. There we can do further exploitation and enhance the kind of thing. Like for an example, I'll tell you, the metros still continue superstructure being constructed out of concrete metros. We also point out that the kind of road bridges and flyovers that are being constructed, they are all constructed in concrete for that matter, except for those stretches. Actually, I was visiting Maharashtra Metro, which is now going to be opening up their innings in CIDCO, in Nashik, and also in Amravati for that matter. You know, they're already working in Nagpur and Pune in a big way. CIDCO contract documents are already out. And if we see the whole complexion of it, they still are focusing on concrete. I know that there are areas where you have to have concrete for that matter, but then there are many more areas. And if you speak about the superstructure, the finishes will be far superior. One thing which I had already commented on Maha Metro and other metros also, that if you look at the kind of construction, the concrete construction that has been done for your superstructure, I think there is much to be desired. So all those things can be taken care of. The quality can be better, appearances can be better, the strength can be better. The fatigue that sets into the concrete, for that matter, is far, I would say, detrimental as compared to what it would be coming into the steel structure, for that matter. You know, so we know exactly the inherent advantages. Now here is a question that we have to make an ingress into those areas where we definitely require, and for building sector, I have already told you that we need to have, and certainly we need to have now change of outlook, where we say that whenever you are talking of structures which are going to be beyond 5 stories or 6 stories, mandatorily, please use steel, concrete, combined structure. That is the kind of thing that has come. And that is the reason, and that is one of the points that I would like to basically push through Niti Aayog when we go and basically set up this particular group. After all, when you talk about Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, for that matter, I think they have they have an ear for what Niti Aayog speaks, and that is where basically we have to bring them in. When we talk about the National Highway Authority of India or other operations of MORTH, for that matter, I think steel is yet to really have a far bigger ingress there. So I think there are plenty of things that we can do, and I would like to call upon you. One of these days, I am just coming there, share a cup of tea with you, and then sit down and we talk about it and push it further. And what my earnest request is that please feel free to recommend names of those who we can bring within the tribe. This is very important because we have started with 4 or 5 people. As a matter of fact, this whole deliberation and discussion was started when we had the lone supporter and advisor, that is Mr. Gauri Shankar Dubey. He has been connected to us for a very long time, and of course, Sushim Babu. Now, from there, we had gone ahead, and then we had Mr. Tushar Sahu, and then we had Mr. Rai Chaudhary, and RVNL is actually uh, our RINL is actually one of our permanent members also. So we are basically getting very seriously into this particular area. I would need any and all the help that would be required, and I'm very confident that all of you are going to be helping us out. And ultimately, it is to help us, nobody else, for that matter. That is the point that we have to bear in mind. So with that, I think I'll go to the last member, and I was just waiting for the best things to happen at the end. And we have Mr. Rai Chaudhary, and Rai Chaudhary Sahab, now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sarup sir. Actually, it's a welcome news that Niti Aayog is seized of the matter, and they are supporting us in creating a situation where steel can be promoted as construction material in a much bigger way. And there are a lot of new things that we have heard today from.
आपको इतने दिन से जो मेरे साथ में काम कर रहे हैं, बहुत लंबा समय तो नहीं है, लेकिन इतने दिन में आपको मालूम है कि मेरे दिमाग में जब एक बार कीड़ा घुस जाता है तो
yes, I know that it is showing results now. And I would like to say most of the points have been discussed already. What Mr. Vinod Gupta said, Mr. Mohit Kapoor, of course, I have heard about a building in Calcutta also, Restelo, which is a steel intensive structure. I think we need to have a case study for these and compiled in a book in the CIDC maybe.
Very good.
And make it a very standard thing.
Yeah.
And during the conference, one point that came up, I was discussing with you separately also, that light gauge steel frames, as a construction material for steel buildings.
Yeah.
That is something which we'll have to work on to bring steel in a big way in the buildings.
Right.
The buildings bringing steel in a big way. We'll need to look at that product also. And accordingly, while we develop the standards, we also need to see and promote take up with all the producers that, they are able to make the steel available. All of them are able to make the steel available. Otherwise, probably this cold rolled product, I'm told that only few producers are making right now, that LGSF steel. So whether it can be expanded to all the steel producers, and then it can be made a very, very affordable and easily available item. While discussing these details of forming the committee, I would again request Mr. Vinod Gupta, the sales set, if they can come into the group and participate in the formation of the standards. Similarly, Swaroop Sahab, I think BIS and the codes of practices both have to move together. Maybe the BIS thing will take a lot of time to get approval, but the codes of practices.
Actually, Arun Kumar, who's HOD of Civil Engineering Department of BIS, he's already a member of this particular group, but for some reason he has not been able to join today.
I know.
So what I have already told, that BIS is going to be integral to whatever group that we set up, and this group will be basically facilitating the activities of BIS. It is to shorten the time period. Like, ISDAG has been working on many things, and we see no reason why all the good things that have been done, they cannot be pushed up by us, for that matter, for adoption, for dissemination. This is all a game of partnership. That's about it.
That's true. In fact, this aspect of increasing the steel consumption, the industry has been trying to do it on their own. And I see, CIDC coming together, CIDC and the industry coming together, giving a very big hope for the industry and the construction industry also to improve their performances. So that being the situation, I see a very good scope for doing a lot of things in this area. And that's all. I think we had a very good discussion today, and things should take off from this.
No, we'll push it up. We'll push it up. And my own request to all of you is that please speak to JSW, please speak to Mittal Arcelor, please speak to all the other majors. Let them also take active part in these particular things. We need all the support and all the resources. This is a battle that cannot be fought by singularly one organization. Let me tell you something, that whatever initiatives that we have launched in CIDC, and plenty of them, and many of them have borne great fruits also. We have a huge list of those things. We had been discussing and deliberating about the lending norms with the RBI, We had been talking to the banks to facilitate lending to the construction organizations. We had been talking about the rating and grading instrument and implementing it also. If you visit the website, you will see plenty of things that we have done which are already in vogue. So, and the largest flagship program that we have is basically skilling, which is a perpetual work that goes on. That is something which is something where the mainstay of CIDC is there, and we have supported the industry by providing almost about 1 million odd people who are working with the industry. So the limited point that I'm trying to make here is that this was all possible when we had basically the support of Planning Commission, and now we have the support of Niti Aayog and active participation of the constituents of industry, important constituents of the industry. And once they start adopting certain things, then rest of the industry automatically follows the suit. So many of these things have happened because they had trust in us. And this is what I would like to do. And let us basically move as partners, try to see that whatever we had been dreaming of, that gets matured as quickly as possible. That's the whole idea, sir. So any other comment that anybody else would like to make, we'll welcome
Sir,
that.
I have to humbly submit 2 points.
Ji, sir. Ji.
Niti Aayog has issued one circular
Ji.
about the going for EPC contract or turnkey contract.
Right.
So that every contractor will have to also start the construction work right from concept commissioning.
Right.
That is the case. CPWD is also following. CPWD is following, and other irrigation and agriculture department also following the EPC mode of contract.
Right.
So every contractor will have to the in-house consultant in them. And I remember our days when we have been making guidebook with the help of in-house consultancy organization of SAIL, that is CET, for promoting mild steel to Torr steel to TMT bars. So similarly, we shall have to involve with the support and guidance of Vinod Ji Gupta, who is having very critical and powerful position of as ED Commercial CMO SAIL. To set in-house consultant people also will have to get involved for the, as Prabir Rai Chaudhary told about the guidebook for steel
number sequence
different tubes and other things, or multi-story building, rather iska scrapper.
Rajiv Ranjan ko bhejna.
And EPC contract is the requirement, so we shall have to involve the big contractors of bridge right from consultancy to construction. So these are my 2 submissions.
Right, sir. Most welcome. And this is the time when we would welcome any suggestion and every suggestion, because what you all bring is basically, decades of experience. Frankly speaking, my own background is not from steel. My background, I must confess, is from cement only. And I started my career with Holtec Engineers, who is a consulting organization for cement and mineral industry. But then now we have to understand something, that we have now, those days are gone. Now there are new exigent situations that we have to look at. And that is why we have to make sure that all of you who have spent ages with the steel sector, who know exactly the inside out, how exactly things work. I have to learn plenty of things, and I'm trying to do is to use whatever humble influences that I have to bring in the intervention of the government and to make sure that we achieve our targets as quickly as possible. Please keep on correcting me, keep on advising me. I'll be more than happy to entertain all of you. Send me the names of the people who you would like to bring in, and that will be wonderful. I think I have this hand raised by Mohit. Mohit, can you come in now?
Yes, sir. Thanks for giving me time again, sir. Sir, I would like to stress on 2-3 points that I heard from my senior members of this webinar. So definitely, I would agree that a lot of designers and consultants, unfortunately, in North India, they are either not very steel, or I would say experts, not very experienced of designing good and big structures in steel.
Yeah.
And what I've heard from them is when there is any RCC structure, and it may be because of the quantum of the day, any RCC structure their junior and mid-level staff are able to do.
Yeah.
But for any steel structure, they have to put in their topmost assets, and that's why we don't have the ability. So I would like to explore the point that said that a lot of designers in South India who have been designing steel structure. So
Yeah.
I, on part of APS Apollo, to give at least one project on
Mohit, your voice is very, very garbled. Mohit, your voice is very garbled. I think there is some connectivity issue. Oh, okay. Can we make it very simple? I am requesting two things now from all of you who are there. One, the points that you had made, please send me a very summarized bullet point kind of a thing, which can come as a summary statement of yours. That will help me to basically develop the minutes of meeting, and that also will try to encompass all the points that you have mentioned. That is number one. Second request that I have to make is that whoever you wish to bring on this particular group and committee, please send us the names. We'll be very happy to extend invitation to them. Let them also come and join. And we would like to say that larger the better. It should not be basically confined to 5 or 6 people. I would rather like to have a very, very huge joint family for that matter. I'd always been a proponent of that. After all, you need plenty of people to do plenty of things. And we have number of issues that have been highlighted today itself. So please send the suggestions and send your names who you would like to have, and also ponder about the things that I had mentioned, that we have to basically, we are getting this opportunity now where the government is willing to listen, and through the government, we are basically approaching now the other sections of industry to whom you have little interaction. Let's say we now have to bring ministries like urban development, MORTH, even the real estate developers on board, who are basically going to be ultimately our customers. So they also have to have their own point of views, and wherever there are deficiencies, that we try to kind of remove and give them the kind of strong solutions so that we achieve whatever we have embarked upon. That is the whole idea. So anything else anybody would like to say, I'll be very happy. Otherwise, we can call this meeting as closed with thanks.
I
Yes.
take this opportunity. I hope now my voice is better, sir.
Now it is better.
Actually, sir, I am in Bhiwadi Industrial. There might be disturbance. Sir, I am taking this opportunity to announce and invite everybody and request them to send me suggestion on whom else should be invited in 2 events that I am organizing on 30th of May. So, one is on 10th of June, Delhi. In 30th May, Mr. Amitabh Kant will be the chief guest. On 10th June, Mr. Hardeep Singh Puri will be the chief guest. And our beloved Dr. P.R. Sarup is one of the keynote speakers in both these events. This is basically on how to introduce steel construction in a bigger way. So I'll be sending the agenda invites very soon to Mr. Sarup. And let us move ahead and take this discussion to a very formidable and productive result.
Thank you, Mohit. Thank you, Mohit. I guess that the event that you're talking about with Mr. Kant will be there is on 30th and 30th of May. And you have, I think, fixed it up at Hotel Oberoi. And my own recommendation to you will be that please extend it to all the esteemed members of this particular group. Let them also come there. Let them also come there, because that is.
Rather, I would request you to suggest me and all the distinguished guests on this group to suggest who all should be the stakeholders from academia, consultants, clients, government department who should attend this invitation.
We will do that, but as you know, that the old axiom is that the charity begins from home. and the home is here. And you have all the dignitaries who have basically built their industry for many decades for that matter. Let us start with inviting them,
Sure,
and I
sir.
will send you a long list of people who would be more than happy to come and join. And I think this time I'm going to be raising this particular issue while Mr. Kant is also there. Although he's not directly connected with Niti, but he's a Sherpa. So as a Sherpa,
Sure.
he has his the ears and eyes of Honorable PM. He can always put in the words. And so
That's
let
the
us
reason that's the reason I invited him.
Yeah,
And the topic I said to for
No.
how to create growth through
No,
personal.
Amitabh is a very good choice because Amitabh immediately gets to the points and he knows exactly what one is talking about. And if it is sensible, which it is, then he is one person who just takes it up. That much I know. I've known him for some time
Sure, sir.
now, and that's the point.
After this, I'll be sending both the digital posters.
Yeah,
That is the
please.
draft of the event.
Please do that.
Circulate among
Please.
the send me the link to invite,
Please,
sir.
please do that. Please do that, Mohit. That will be lovely. And I'm very sure that all our friends who are here and who can make it, they will definitely join the event. There's no reason, right? Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
And anything else, or can we close this meeting now?
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
So I have your permission, and Mr. Gupta, my tea with you is very much assured, and I
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be,
most welcome,
I
anytime.
will be, and I generally don't take any biscuits or anything, any accompaniment. So,
Okay. Most welcome, sir.
so plain tea is good enough, and my office will be
Anytime.
in touch with you, and
Right.
I'll come and have a word with you, and let's see how basically can go about.
Thank
सुशील
you.
बाबू थोड़ा पीके मिश्रा साहब से बोलिए कि भाई जरा एक्टिवली ज्वाइन करें और अपने लोगों को ज्वाइन कराएं अगर किसी वजह से ज्वाइन नहीं कर पाते हैं, है ना? आप थोड़ा उनको बताइए फॉर ऑल टाइम से ही शुड. चलिए साहब. ओके, थैंक यू.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you
And
so
good
much.
night to everyone, and it was lovely and wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.